Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network, where curiosity meets conversation. Get enlightened and have fun. Share the experience with friends, family, and anyone ready for thought-provoking dialogue. You can watch our shows on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, or connect with us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts are also available on Libsyn, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other major platforms. Be sure to visit our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for past episodes, upcoming shows, and guest scheduling. And to our listeners around the cosmos, welcome. We're glad you're here. Subscribe, follow, and join the community.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good day, everybody, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's The Seance Podcast. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. If this is your first time tuning in, please click like, subscribe, comment, and also don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to your podcast. Today's guest, Stuart Perrin, an American spiritual master who has spent more than 40 years teaching Rudra Meditation around the world. His journey began in his early 20s, traveling through Europe and North Africa in search of a true teacher. That search led him to Swami Rudrananda, Rudi, in 1967, an encounter that transformed his life and introduced him to a powerful, practical, chakra-based meditation technique. Stuart now teaches across the United States and internationally on Zoom, leads bi-monthly retreats, and has authored several respected books on meditation and spiritual practice. Let's welcome to the seance for the first time, Stuart Perrin.
Good to be here.
Namaste, my friend.
Namaste.
Welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So that was a lot of information in just a small bit. Take us back just a little bit and give us the juicy parts of how this journey started.
This journey started, honestly, when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
I went through an extremely traumatic situation that shook me up to the core of my being. And I discovered something that was so important. My father got very sick. He had 106-degree fever. He was literally in a coma for 3 weeks. He didn't recognize my mother, myself, my sister.
Wow.
And I remember going into his hospital room just before he died, took his hand, and he had a state of serenity I had never seen in my life. I could look into his eyes and see 1,000 miles. The room was full of light. And I said, "Do you know me?" And he shook his head, "Yes." Now, for 3 weeks, he was in this coma. He didn't know anybody. And I got up for a few minutes to leave the room, and I met his nurse in the lobby. This woman, God bless her soul, she changed my life. She said to me something that was so profound that it really transformed everything. She said, to her experience, just before people leave the world, they die. They go into a state of complete serenity. It's like they've let go of everything.
Yeah.
They're calm, they're at peace with themselves. And I thought to myself, why did my father have to wait 49 years to enter this state of serenity? It was almost like an enlightened state 2 hours before he died. I said, there has to be somebody in the world who can teach me how to get past the chaos and the confusion in myself and reach that state of serenity. That's when my voyage started. It took 9 years to find that person, traveling half around the world and looking for somebody who can teach. I met gurus and swamis and priests and this and that. And I always had one question for them. How do I stop the yakking in my head?
Yeah.
I never got an answer. I never got it. How do I stop all these emotions and sexual energy that's driving me crazy?
Yeah.
I never got an answer. That was love, peace, and eat vegetables. None of that worked. I was a kid from the Bronx, New York. I grew up in tenements, for God's sake, the streets of New York. And when you tell me love peace and eat vegetables, I needed something stronger.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was in North Africa, in Morocco, Marrakesh, and I went and I was completely broke. And I had to get back to the United States. And I called a friend of mine. I said, could you please send me a plane ticket? And so I can get back to New York. So he sent me a plane ticket. I picked it up at the American Express in Paris. And I flew back to New York. And I was staying in this man's apartment, living on the floor. I had no money. I had no job. I had nothing. And he said to me, let's go out and have some dinner. There was a Mideastern restaurant in Greenwich Village we used to like to go to. So I said to him, great, let's go. So we're walking down 7th Avenue South, and we come to an Oriental art shop. And we're looking in the window of the shop, and my friend says, you love this stuff. And all these Buddhas and Tonkas and Tibetan things and Hindu things. And he said, you've been going to museums looking at that stuff most of your life. Why don't we go in?
Yeah.
Charlie, what am I going to, I'm broke. What am I going to do in there, Charlie? He said, it doesn't cost to look. Now, that doesn't cost to look saved my life. I walked into the shop. Standing in the middle of the shop was Rudi. It was his gallery. And like a magnet, I was attracted to him. And he started showing me pictures of himself studying with a Swami in India, telling me about the meditation he practices. And he said, if you want to come study with me, and he said, come tomorrow night at 5 o'clock in the evening. As I was walking out of his gallery, I turned around and looked at him, and all I saw was light coming out of him.
Yeah.
And I said to this friend of mine, Charlie, I got to go see this guy again. I don't know what happened there. And this is really interesting because it shows you what kind of jerks we all are. We finished dinner, and I went back to this friend of mine's apartment. He used to live in one of these railroad flats in Manhattan that were $38 a month at that time, and bathtub in the kitchen, toilet in the hallway.
Wow.
And we met a guy on the landing, and he said, why don't you come into my apartment and have some tea? So he said, okay, great. Walked into this apartment. This guy had a $500,000 Oriental art collection in this tenement building. It was staggering. It was staggering. I said, where'd you get all this stuff? He said, there's a guy in Greenwich Village named Rudi, who runs a gallery. I had met Rudi an hour before.
Yeah.
And I said, Stuart, the gods are talking to you. Once in your life, listen. And I went down the next day, and he showed me his meditation breathing exercise. And it became the transformational moment of my life that took place with him, because I finally found somebody who didn't tell me love, peace, and eat vegetables, but told me here is a way to build a system inside yourself that you can transform all of this madness and tension that you see in the world, in yourself. You can transform it into an open heart and love, and develop the strength to be able to deal with this and work out your karma. So the meditation became palpable. It became something that I could use to work out the strange karma that I had. And I began to use it, and it worked, for God's sake. It really worked. I couldn't believe it. It really worked. I learned how to build foundation in myself.
Yeah.
I learned how to get the mind quiet. I learned how to get the heart open. I learned three things, okay, that were really significant. There are three elements to what I teach and what my teacher used to teach. The first one is karma. We weren't born on the earth to hide out from life. We're born on the earth to embrace life, to find a way to truly have compassion, have love, have joy, and to live on a very highest levels of our own humanity. He said, we're not here to hide out from the world. Why do we come here? We don't come here to live like frightened people. So it taught me to deal with an impossible energy, a very powerful energy, life. And it taught me to recognize that life is an extraordinary teacher. I am here to learn from it. I'm not here to hide from it. So the power of life, and we all know, you go out in the world and the stuff you have to deal with is beyond. It's some surreal kind of movie that you're living in. And the second thing is spirit itself. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna reveals himself to Arjuna, when God, Krishna, reveals himself, it's as if the light of 1,000 suns suddenly appeared in the sky. The energy is beyond all human comprehension.
Yeah.
Yet the infinite energy goes beyond anything any of us can understand. And in order to deal with that energy without allowing it to burn us up, we need to build a foundation inside. We need to be grounded inside. In one of my books, I talk about a healthy tree has healthy roots. If there's a hurricane and a storm, it's not going to blow that tree down. The trees that will get blown down are the trees with unhealthy roots.
Yeah.
They just get not, and that is life. Most people have not healthy roots, and life just rolls over them. And when they take LSD, they take DMT, all these drugs, they're opening the Kundalini, which gets them in touch. And this energy is so powerful, it just burns out their system.
Yeah.
They don't have the grounding inside in order to deal with it. And the third element is Kundalini. Kundalini is an extremely powerful force. It's also the pathway to spiritual enlightenment.
Mm.
And we need to have the strength inside to be able to deal with karma, life, spirit, and Kundalini. And it takes training. We have to learn how to do it. And this is what I learned from my teacher. And this is what I've been teaching people for many years, how to build the kind of system inside themselves that can deal with these kinds of intensities of energy and that every human being has to deal with every day of their life.
Yeah. Yeah. How long did it take for you to do that 180 from the point of searching to the point of, oh, wow, I got this?
I'll tell you the truth. There was a point in my studies with Rudi where he sent me to live in Texas because he had an ashram starting there, young people that wanted to build a meditation group there. And he asked me to go down there and teach. And the last thing he said to me, if anyone ever asks you who the guru is, tell them the guru is life. Honestly, it took me probably 10 years to really understand what he taught me at that one moment. Yeah. The guru is life. I am not the guru. You understand? All I am there to do is to train people to get strong enough to sit in front of the real guru, which is life.
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah. Teaching people how to see it and recognize life.
Right. How to recognize that all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, it's one big bouillabaisse.
Yeah.
That is a delicious soup if we open up inside and learn how to embrace it.
And what sucks too is some people will never experience this. Some people will live their entire life and they won't wake up or see that or experience that moment until the very last breath.
That's why there's reincarnation.
Right. Yeah.
It's a very difficult, you have to really have guts. You have to have, above everything, a need inside that is so hungry to have a spiritual life that it gets you to that place inside yourself where you can embrace that great teacher, which is called life. You have to become a human being inside, what does that mean? The highest levels of our humanity, a love, compassion, joy, being a happy person. You understand? That transcends all the fear, the insecurity, the neurosis, the anxiety that exists in people because they have transformed their chakra system into an energy force that can enable them to live that way.
Oof. Yeah. And that level of surrender too. There's a point of surrender. You got to just surrender that ego, that crap that's piling up that we've been taught and programmed. No, it's just surrender and let life's waves and ocean carry you.
I agree, 100%. You have to let go.
Yeah.
I had T-shirts made up, just let go. I really mean it. I made up these T-shirts.
Yeah.
Just let go.
Yeah. I want to bring up your book here, Rudra Meditation, Transforming Life's Tensions into Joy and Love. Where can people find this?
You can find it on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, at Walmart. They can literally find it from any bookstore that uses Ingram as a distributor. And there's thousands of them. They're all over the place. Ingram is the biggest distributor in the world of books. They can find it in any country. through Amazon. I just had a book sent, ordered a book in Poland.
Yeah.
You can get it anywhere. And there are certain bookstores in Portland, Oregon that carried it, New York that carried it. But I would suggest go to Amazon, go to Barnes and Noble. If you like Walmart, go to Walmart. They have it in Walmart on their website. You can get it. And as I say, there are literally thousands of stores. You tell them this book, my name, Rudra Meditation. They will go into their computer, they'll find it, and they can order it for you.
Nice. And before we move forward, let me bring up your website. So for those who are watching, we'll obviously see it scrolling on the bottom of the screen. But for the audience that's going to be listening, where can they find you?
It's www.stuartperrin.com.
Cool.
And there's an interesting thing on that website. I wrote a book that's never been published called Tantra. And I wrote 108 chapters, and I think they're all on that website.
Wow.
Of different aspects. 108 is like a sacred number. And all the chapters are, talk about different aspects of Tantra. And I included in that, it's like a coffee table book. Photographs, some art, and all kinds of Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Islam, from the whole world is included in the book.
Yeah, because
great art.
The 108 that's how many beads are on the mala, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a sacred number.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's on my, plus a lot of other things are on the website, but that's on there.
Cool. So for those out there that we talk about meditation all the time on this show, that's always comes up in some discussion at some point. And for those who might have some struggles with meditation, what's some good advice for those who are beginning to learn to meditate?
When I first started to meditate, my teacher said, you got to sit down at home and do this. Set up a little altar. And for the first time I sat down to do it, I couldn't sit there for 5 minutes. My mind was just like a bird cage full of canaries yakking away. The second time, it was 7 minutes. Within a month of practicing and working on myself, I was able to sit there for at least a half hour to 45 minutes, keeping my mind relatively quiet. What I tell people is people need training in how to do this. People assume if you want to be a lawyer, you got to go to school and learn how to be a lawyer. You want to be a doctor, you got to learn for 12 years how to be a doctor. And meditation is probably one of the single most difficult things to learn for only one reason. We're up against one person, that's ourselves. And we have to learn to master the chaos inside ourselves. So it takes training. Like Rudi gave me 6 years of training when I was with him.
Yeah.
And we need training. We need to learn how to work on ourselves.
Now that brings up a question. That chaos that we want to walk away from, get away from every now and then through meditation. On your thoughts, where do you think that chaos comes from? Why is it there? What is it?
It comes from a lack of discipline. Look, people come to me often saying they have a headache. I said, you don't have a headache, you have a heartache. I said, open your heart, your headache will go away. I remember I had an experience out in California where this woman, I was staying at her apartment with a friend of mine there, and she came back and she was complete mess. My head, I have a migraine, it's killing me. And I sat her down and I said, let me just do a little work on you. And I touched her forehead and I touched her here. And I transmitted Shakti energy to open this area, and especially her heart opened. And she looked 10 years younger, and she was looking in the mirror. She was, what did you do to me? She was glowing. She was literally, and then she had to go to some lunch or something with all these movie stars and people in Hollywood. And she said, I'm ready to go. I feel 10 years younger. Yeah. And, you understand, the real key is that the real power in a human being is not in the head. The real power in the human being is right below the navel, in the chakra. The Japanese call this place the hara, the Chinese the tatien. It's the third chakra inside a human being. The core, the very core of one's being. When you learn how to bring the tension in yourself down to that core, it transforms itself into harmony and balance, power that you can use then to open the heart. And the heart is like a flower. And this has a stem, it needs roots, otherwise it's not going to open. And that is really the key to the whole thing, learning how to bring that tension down to the chakra right below the navel.
That's the solar plexus.
The solar plexus, and building that power source inside yourself. It's the area when athletes are in that zone that they go into, that's where they are.
Yeah.
Dances, you ever see when they dance from the really great ones are here in the chakra below the navel. I have many students that are singers, opera singers, and all that. They are trained to sing from the core of their being. That is where the strength is. So when that mind is like a bird cage full of canaries yakking and screaming, and we need to learn to master that, how to bring that energy down to the chakra below the navel and use it to build the very foundation of our being. That is really what meditation is about. Meditation is not a spiritual life. And I tell people this all the time. Meditation is a craft that helps you build an inner life that is strong enough where the mind is quiet, the heart is open, you're centered inside, the throat is open, and it gets you strong enough so you can have a spiritual life. All it is a craft, and anybody can learn it. You know, if they really put their mind to learning it, they find somebody to study with who can help them learn it.
Yeah.
Just building a craft inside. It's really, and that may come as a little shock to people because meditation is a spirit. It's not a spiritual life. It's a craft. Learn how to use to keep yourself from going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So your book, through this book, Rudra Meditation, and through your website, people can reach out to you if they have any questions, if they want to take a class. You're offering. You do offer classes.
Yeah, they can go to my website. They can find how through my email, my phone number might even be there, and they can get in touch with me. Yeah. And then I have classes literally all over the world. I teach on Zoom.
Okay.
And this is something I never dreamt of ever doing. And it was only because of COVID. I used to travel around the world teaching, and COVID made, what am I going to do? My whole life has to change. And all of them said, well, why don't you try Zoom? I said, what the hell is Zoom? So I tried it, and it worked. The energy was so strong. I couldn't believe it, that it actually was transmitting Shakti to the computers. And the energy was really powerful. So I started doing it. Now I have people from 4 continents that are coming to these classes.
Wow.
I have 7 classes a week on Zoom, and I teach 5 of them, and students of mine teach 2 of them. And anyone's invited. They can come from anywhere. I don't have even a fee for this. I just ask people, donate whatever you feel comfortable donating.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no fee. If somebody has no money, I also tell them, grow up and learn how to make money.
Yeah, right.
Learn how to make some money. But I'm not going to chase people away because of that. If my teacher would have asked me for money when I started studying with him, I was so broke, man. I was a church mouse. I was so broke. I could have never. And he never asked me for a nickel. And I asked him one day, I said, Rudi, what happened the day I met you? He said, Stuart, and this is really moving. He said, I saw you looking in the window of my store, and I saw my son lost in the universe, and I pulled you right in the door. Wow. Yeah. And I'll tell you another story that is amazing, okay? Rudi passed on in a plane crash. Yeah. I was in the plane with him. Yeah, you're seeing a living miracle sitting here talking to you now.
Wow.
I was in the plane with him. I was holding his hand. And I wrote a book about this. It's called Rudi, and it tells about that whole story of the plane crash. It was it was like an allegory almost.
Yeah.
And we hit a mountain. The pilot, my head was this way looking at him. He was sitting in the back seat. The pilot went, oh my God. I was knocked unconscious. I woke up, all my teeth were gone in my front, and I was holding his hand. And when we hit the mountain, the only reason I survived that crash is he put his soul force inside me.
Oof.
That's the reason I'm here. And that's the reason I devoted my life, literally my life, to teaching what I teach and trying to help people grow spiritually. So I have an interesting story.
Yes. Yeah.
I have
Oh,
an interesting
man.
story about all this. And the first thing I'll never forget, when the pilot told me that Rudi had passed on, after I came out of when I was knocked unconscious, I tried to give him artificial respiration. And then I realized that he really had died. My first thought is, Stuart, first I thanked him for allowing me to be with him the last moment of his life. And then my next thought was, now you'll find out what you really learned in the last 6 years. Now you will have to apply it to your life and see how it works for everyone. It was extraordinary. And then there were three of us that survived. We spent a night on a mountain. It was February 21st.
Ooh.
We spent the night on a mountain. And then when the light came, the dawn came, we walked down the mountain to find people. And I'll never forget, I knocked on the door of a house, and the woman opened the door, and she looked at me. She almost fainted. It was really something, an experience that really etched itself into my being.
Yeah.
And it made me realize, Stuart, you don't have a life anymore. Your life has to be in service of higher energy in the universe. And bring it. That's why I'm here on your show. I wrote this book. I published it. And this book is probably the best book I've ever written. And I've written a dozen of them.
Yeah.
I wanted it to get out to people, into people's hands, and see what is really possible. And one of the real messages is there are no accidents in life. You know, there's just things that happen that take place in your life that enable you to recognize that there's something to learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And my life has been full of accidents that have transformed me. They literally transformed me.
Yeah. There's something in the background that's calling my name. It's calling my attention. That picture that's on the wall behind you, to your right. Wow. I can only see it on an angle, but for some reason it's giving off a lot of energy, and my eye has always been directing to
Here?
it. Yeah, there's a giant picture on the wall behind you. The giant one on.
There's one behind me of my teacher, Rudi.
Yeah.
There's one over on my right, which is.
That one.
Yeah, it's a Ming Dynasty painting of a Buddha.
Mm.
And he's painting from probably about the 17th century.
Oh, wow.
Of a Buddha.
Yeah.
And I hang it, my bed is right. I hang it, I wake up in the morning, it's the first thing I see.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I spent 30 years in the art business too. And that's how I used to earn a living, selling Asian art. And I used to sell to major collectors, museums, and all over the world. I would sell this stuff. I did that for 30 years.
Yeah.
I didn't retire from it, but I just got out of it. Oh, maybe around 2008, 2007, like that.
Oh, okay.
And I said, no, now you have to just devote your life to this teaching. That's what you have to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the places I've been, there's a lot more on my bucket list, but I lived in China for about a year. And when I was there, I had the Buddha tattooed on the back of my forearm with my Chinese, my Chinese name, whatnot, and went to Angkor Wat, Buddhist temple in Angkor Wat, explored that place. Wow, the energies that are there, and pictures on TV or in books just do not do any justice to it whatsoever. What are some of the places that you've been to that are just, whoa, like you just have to see them, because pictures and books and movies just don't do justice.
I've been in India 40 times.
Yeah.
So I used to go over there a lot, mostly 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, like that. And I used to go and do pilgrimages. I would take students of mine to different sites, and like Khajuraho, and then different temples. And I'll tell you one of the great stories of my life, okay, which was really powerful. I was in Darjeeling with one student of mine. This is back in the late 70s. And we met a couple of Tibetan lamas. One of them was a very good Tonka painter, and I wound up bringing him to the United States. And I asked them, I said, I'd like to meet every Rinpoche in town. So they took me from monastery to monastery, and I couldn't find a teacher that I could really connect with.
Yeah.
I was sitting and working with them and trying to tune into them, and then they took me to a place called Sanada. It was about 10 kilometers from Darjeeling. And I walked into the yard there, and there must have been 200 monks sitting there, lamas, Om Mani Padme Uming it with their prayer wheels. And one of them came up to us, and I said, is it possible for us to see the Rinpoche? So, oh, Rinpoche is very sick. He's not seeing anybody. He's very sick. He said that he doesn't want to. I said, look, we've come 9,000 miles, and maybe he will take 15 minutes if we can sit with him. So they said yes. They went in and talked to him, and he said, and they came out and said, yeah, Rinpoche said he will see you. So we went in and we gave him the white silk scarf, which is a term of endearment, and sat down. He was lying in bed with a blanket up to his neck. And he looked like he probably had 3 weeks to live, this guy. It was unbelievable. And I said, Rinpoche, I don't want to bother you, too much, but can you talk a little bit about Tibetan Buddhism? Talked for about an hour about Tibetan Buddhism.
Wow.
So when he finished, I said, Rinpoche, I said, can we come back and see you again tomorrow? He said, yes. So we left, we came back the next day. He was sitting on his bed in a teaching robe. And we gave him the silk scarves as a term of endearment. Sat down, Rinpoche, can you talk about Tibetan Buddhism? And he went on again for an hour, talked. When we finished, I asked him again, can we come back tomorrow? And he said yes. And this was all through a translator. He didn't speak English. So on the way out of this lamasery, the student of mine, he said to me, there's a form of Tibetan Buddhism that's very similar to what we practice. He said it's called Tumo. And I didn't know anything about this. And he said it's part of the 6 disciplines of Naropa. And it's Tibetan Buddhist yoga, tantric practice. So I said to him, okay, now I have something really to ask him. Came back the next day, Rinpoche was sitting on a throne chair in full teaching regalia. It was unbelievable. And we gave him the scarves, and I said, Rinpoche, can you please talk about the 6 disciplines of Naropa, specifically the discipline of Tumo? Rinpoche went on for 3 hours talking about this. His translator turned to me and said, in 13 years of being in this monastery, I've never heard these teachings. It was extraordinary. And then finally, I was living in Texas at the time. And I said to him at the end, Rinpoche, do you think I should move back to New York? And he said to me, yes. He said, if you move back to New York, your teachings will become known all over the world. And he didn't even know what I taught. He said, it will be known all over the world. Anyway, we left. It was amazing. And I have this big image of Rinpoche. It turned out that he was Kala Rinpoche. And Kala Rinpoche is like on the level of the Karmapa, all these people. He was on that level. Anyway, the kicker to this story, okay? I was in San Francisco giving a lecture at a yoga society. And one of my students came up to me and said, Stuart, you're not going to believe this. So he said, you got to hear what this guy just told me. So I went over and the guy told me this story. He said, in 1978, Kala Rinpoche was dying. And these 2 seekers came from the West. And their need for a spiritual life was so strong that it brought him back to life again. So, oh my God, meeting became a legend in their monastery. I said, oh, it really sent shivers through me.
Yeah. How much longer was his life since that meeting?
I think he lived another 10 years or something.
Wow.
Yeah. I can tell you stories like this all day. I'm kidding you,
Yeah.
you know,
And multiple episodes.
in multiple episodes.
Part two.
But it's all, I never thought of meeting Kala Rinpoche.
Yeah.
I had received an invitation by the Karmapa when I was living in Texas to visit him when next time I was in India. And when I got there, I discovered that he was in the hospital with a very serious, I think he had cancer. And he was in the hospital, he was very ill, so I decided not to go see him. You know, but he sent me a letter inviting me to come see him.
Yeah. Yeah. Even when I hear the story about Yogananda, when he did that last speech, what was in 57 in the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles or out in California, the Biltmore, did that big speech, and then he went up to the room and died there in bed.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I'll tell you another story. I don't know if you have any more time, but I can tell you another one.
Oh, yeah. A little bit. Go ahead.
I started a meditation center in Kathmandu.
Really?
And one of my students went over there was teaching, and she had this huge group of people. They cut through all the caste system there. We had every group imaginable sitting there together doing meditation. She calls me up one day. She says, Stuart, I don't know what to do here. I love this place. It's so exotic. I love being here, but I have no idea what to do with my time.
Yeah.
So I said to her, you are living in one of the poorest countries in the world. Something is going to come. Anyway, 2 or 3 days later, I get a phone call from her. Stuart, I just went to a meeting at the United Nations, and the meeting was about sexual slavery and girl trafficking in Nepal to India. And she said, I was so moved by this. They say that 10,000 children a year are trafficked from Nepal to India.
Wow.
And she said, what do you think we could do? I said, we'll set up a safe house and we'll work with doctors, with NGOs, and find children that are prime targets for these trafficking. Take them into the safe house, educate them, and save their lives, basically. So we set up a thing called the Bahini Foundation. Bahini means little sisters in the Nepalese. And it went on for, I guess 4 years. And then Chris called me up and she said, I got emphysema. I can't live here anymore. The pollution is so terrible, and it's true in Kathmandu.
Yeah.
It's making me sick. So I said to her, Chris, look, give the Bahini Foundation to Aruna. Aruna was a doctor who ran an organization called REST. And we used to work with her finding these children. Give it to her and come back to New York, and you stay with me until we can get you well again over this emphysema stuff. So she gave the Bahini Foundation to the REST. They incorporated it in their organization, and she came back. Meanwhile, this experience was so powerful, I wrote a book about it called Little Sisters. I made a novel out of it, combining East and West, and a very powerful book. And it really gets into the problem without judging or anything, but this is what we have to deal with. This is how terrible the whole thing is.
Yeah.
Not as tell, but show it. And it's a really strong book. I thought it would make a great movie when I did it. And I had an agent for it and everything, but we never could get Hollywood interested at the time.
Yeah, you'd have to go independent for something like that.
Yeah. But anyway, when the book came out, I get an email from Aruna. Why did you publish this book? Why? And I said, Aruna, did you read it? She said, no, but you shouldn't. It's going to create... Then she read the book and she sent me, Stuart, I cried through this entire book. I cried. It's so powerful and so true about what goes on here. Thank you for writing this book. And then she called us up maybe a year or two later. She said, because you started the Bahini Foundation and they took it over, it saved the lives of 10,000 children.
Wow.
This is how you take consciousness and meditation and make it work in the world.
Yeah, materialize it.
Make it palpable. Make it something that comes out of the heart that really does good in life.
Yeah. Could you imagine if we could do that with everything.
Yes, we can, but you know the problem?
Squashing evil in the darkness.
You know the problem? The problem is people have to change inside.
Yep.
People have to change.
It's got to
And
be
if
a
people
collective.
don't change. There are always going to be war, genocide, starvation. All of this insanity will not stop.
Yeah.
And people learn how to change inside themselves.
A saturation. It's got to be a saturation in the collective consciousness.
It's right. It's right. 8 billion strong.
Yeah.
It's a big job. God has that job, I'll tell you.
Oh, man. So before we start wrapping up the show, again, where they can find you.
Excuse me? I didn't understand.
Before we wrap up the show, where can they find you? Call out your website.
It's w.stuartperrin.com. STUARTPERRIN.com.
Cool.
That's where they can find me. My email, if they're interested, is Stuart D, as in David, Perrin @gmail.com. I answer every email is sent to me. And if people are interested in classes, I can arrange for them to be taught the breathing exercise and put them in a class that will work in their time zone, wherever they are in the world.
Heck yeah. I might take you up on that. I always like to either learn new things or other ways in doing things and stuff.
No, you're welcome. Just let me know. We can do that. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, you are very welcome. And before we go, what do you have to offer as a takeaway? Some words of wisdom.
Just let go.
Yeah, exactly. Letting go.
Let it go.
Let it go. Let
Not
it go, brother.
Look, it's all transitory. And one day we all have to let go.
Yeah, exactly. None of us are going to get out of this alive, so let go. Let go.
Okay.
Namaste, brother.
Thank
you. Bless you, my friend. And thank you, everybody, for watching Conscious Radio Network's The Seance. And until next time, we'll see you then.